All right, get ready to dive deep today. We're all about K-dramas. And judging by all this research you sent in, I think you're ready to move past crash landing on you in Squid Game and really dig in.
Definitely.
Like we're talking about, cultural forces, global impact. I mean, even like the economic tidal wave that K-dramas are making.
You're right. It's not just like entertainment or whatever anymore.
Yeah.
It's about like understanding how, well, a type of TV show can become this global phenomenon, right?
Right.
And like shaping how people see things.
Yeah.
And influencing like everything from tourism to even politics.
Exactly. I had to say, like, getting ready for this deep dive, I was looking at the numbers, and some of them are just, like, crazy.
Yeah.
Did you know that South Korea, like, made over $561 million just from, like, exporting TV shows in 2022?
It's huge.
And then get this, Netflix put, like, $2.5 billion into Korean entertainment last year.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible, right?
It is.
And that's where this whole idea of soft power comes in.
Yeah.
We're basically seeing South Korea using entertainment, strategically using it to boost their, I guess, influence around the world.
Okay, so for anyone listening who maybe hasn't heard of soft power before, basically it's like being able to influence people not by force, but like through culture.
Right.
It's, think of it this way, like how many people all over the world got into American culture because of Hollywood movies.
That's a perfect comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. So K-dramas, it's like they're doing the same thing for South Korea.
Yeah, they're not just sending out stories.
Yeah.
They're sending out values, aesthetics, a whole way of life.
Right.
And it's grabbing people all over.
Yeah, it's like they figured out this like cultural diplomacy thing, but they made it romantic and exciting.
Totally, yeah.
And speaking of culture, like let's talk about this one thing that's like all woven into K-dramas, right? Confucianism. I know. It sounds kind of like a history lesson, but stick with me. This is where it gets interesting.
It's not just some old philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Confucianism, South Korea, it's like, it's part of everything.
Yeah.
Like daily interactions, family stuff, how businesses work, everything.
And you see it in all these K-dramas that we love. Like, think about SKY Castle and how much pressure there is to be successful. All those parents going crazy to get their kids into the best schools.
Right.
Like, it's a bit much.
It is. And that shows how important education is in Confucianism and this idea of filial piety.
Yeah.
Respecting and obeying your parents.
Yeah.
But the show also kind of like criticizes how intense that pressure can be.
Right.
Like it shows the anxiety it creates and the inequality.
Totally. And how about that show about the workplace and like how strict the hierarchy is?
Yeah, it's really clear there.
Yeah. You have to be so respectful to your seniors, even when, well, let's just say even when your boss is maybe not so great.
Yeah. It's like, whoa.
Exactly. Missing shows how Confucian values play out in like a modern office,
Yeah.
It's like a window into this way of thinking, this cultural framework that might seem strange to people.
Yeah.
But like, that's kind of why it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's true. It's so different. Okay, so let's be honest here, right? Some people still think of K-dramas like they're just cheesy romances, like something your grandma might watch. But honestly, that's like totally outdated.
Definitely.
Like way outdated.
Yeah, it's a total misconception. Like, sure, romance is there.
Yeah.
But K-dramas today, they cover a much wider range of stuff.
They do.
And they do it in this deep, nuanced way, and it's grabbing people from all over.
Yeah. Like think about The Glory, right?
Oh, intense.
It was a thriller, but it also made people talk about social justice.
Right.
And the trauma of abuse.
Right.
And then you have like Extraordinary Attorney Woo.
Oh, I love that show. It has a main character who's a brilliant lawyer who's also autistic, right?
Yeah.
So it's challenging stereotypes.
Totally.
And it's advocating for neurodiversity. And I think what's really cool is how these shows are like showing how gender roles are changing.
Yeah.
We're seeing all these strong, independent women, right?
Yeah.
Like they're in positions of power, they're following their ambitions, they're breaking free from like all those old-fashioned stereotypes.
All right.
They're not just damsels in distress anymore, they're leading the story.
Exactly, yeah. And it's a really important point.
Yeah.
These women, they're not just there to look pretty.
Right.
They're driving the story and they're challenging these old expectations. And it shows how Korean society is changing too.
Yeah.
Towards more equality between men and women.
Okay, and we can't talk about this without talking about the fans.
Yeah.
The K-drama female fans, I mean, the research is clear.
Yeah.
These women, they're not just watching.
Right.
They're, like, super invested. They're building these online communities. They're even, like, influencing what shows get made just by what they like and don't like.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
It's turning the whole entertainment industry upside down.
Totally.
Like, K-dramas aren't successful just because they spend tons of money or have flashy ads, you know?
Yeah.
It's because they found this audience who feel like they're, they're being seen, heard, like the show gets them.
Yeah, it's like they've discovered the secret to real engagement. You know, these women, they connect with the characters, the stories, and they're building these passionate communities.
Right.
And those communities are actually shaping K-dramas.
Yeah, they're influencing them. And it brings up a really interesting question.
What's that?
If K-dramas can have this much cultural impact,
Yeah.
and it's mostly driven by women,
Yeah.
what does that say about how entertainment can maybe change society in bigger ways?
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about being entertained anymore. We're talking about representation, about people connecting,
Totally.
and the power of stories to challenge what's normal, to get people talking about important stuff.
Yeah, and to really understand how K-dramas became this global thing,
Yeah.
we need to look back.
Okay.
Like, think of it like a plot twist. Their rise to fame, it wasn't a straight line.
So let's go back, like all the way back to the late 90s, right? The start of the Korean wave.
Yeah.
Remember that show, What is Love?
Oh, yeah.
That was a huge hit in China.
Huge.
And it kind of showed that something big was happening.
Yeah.
And then came like the early 2000s and Winter Sonata.
Oh, yeah.
It took over Asia, especially in Japan. I mean, it was more than just a love story. It was like a phenomenon.
It was huge.
The music, the way it was filmed, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's crazy how a show about two people who can't be together, like that story could touch so many people in different cultures.
Yeah, yeah.
It shows how powerful those universal themes are.
Totally. And then you have Jewel in the Palace.
Right.
K-dramas went beyond Asia with that one.
Oh, yeah.
It reached people in the Middle East, even in Turkey.
Yeah.
This historical drama about a woman who becomes this royal doctor, defying all these odds.
Yeah.
It really resonated across borders.
It did.
It showed that even if your culture is different, a powerful story is a powerful story.
That's so true. It's incredible how those early successes, like, they paved the way for everything that came after, right?
Yeah.
So in the mid-2000s, you've got online platforms, satellite TV, all that stuff comes up, which makes K-dramas even easier to watch.
Right.
And let's not forget all those fan communities, the ones who are like subtitling the shows themselves. They were sharing them online. I mean, they were spreading the love for K-dramas everywhere.
Totally. They were essential, those fans.
Yeah.
They were the unsung heroes of the K-drama wave, really.
Yeah, totally.
Their passion and their hard work, they helped break down language barriers.
Yeah.
And they connected people through this shared love for these shows.
That's beautiful. And then came the big change, right? The streaming giants like Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Netflix saw what was happening and they went all in on K-dramas with shows like Descendants of the Sun and Goblin.
Right, yeah.
They showed off how good the production was, the cinematic storytelling that K-dramas were becoming known for.
Right, right.
And it totally captivated people all over the world.
It wasn't just about the visuals, though, right?
No, it was more than that.
These shows tackled big ideas.
Yeah.
They explored cultural nuances.
Yeah.
And they had characters that people from all over could relate to.
Yeah.
It was this winning formula that really put K-dramas on the map globally.
And that brings us to where we are today, right?
Yeah.
K-dramas aren't just some niche thing. They're this global phenomenon.
They are.
They're changing trends, they're influencing how people see Korea, and they're rewriting, like, all the rules for the entertainment industry.
It's amazing, really.
It is. It's a fascinating evolution.
Yeah.
We'll go even deeper into what K-dramas are all about, how they deal with social issues, challenge stereotypes, and give us a glimpse into what modern Korea is really like.
It's going to be good.
It is.
Yeah.
So we talked about K-dramas blowing up around the world, but now let's look closer and see how they're, like, reflecting Korean society, or maybe even shaping it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting relationship.
It is.
It's not just made up, right?
Right.
They're showing the hopes and fears and even the systemic problems that real people in South Korea are dealing with.
Okay, so let's get specific. What are some of these societal themes that K-dramas are tackling head on? What's got everyone talking?
Well, one thing that comes up all the time is class.
Yeah.
It's like built into so many of the stories,
Yeah.
like at SKY Castle, where getting your kids into the best schools becomes this crazy competition.
Oh, for sure.
It shows how privileged the upper class is,
Yeah.
but also the pressure they're under.
Right. And it's not even just about money.
Yeah.
It's about how unequal things are, like in the education system, in getting jobs, even in just like social groups.
Yeah.
K-dramas, like they're not afraid to show how those systems can be unfair to ordinary people.
Exactly. And sometimes it's subtle,
Yeah.
Like it's part of the character's struggles, and sometimes it's really obvious.
Right.
Like, remember Parasite?
Yeah.
It wasn't a drama series, but it had that same vibe,
Yeah.
directly confronting the difference between the rich and poor.
Yeah, totally. It's like K-dramas are letting us see inside Korea's soul.
Yeah.
You know? They're showing us the good and the bad, the dreams, the frustrations.
Speaking of frustrations, another big theme is corruption. It's everywhere in political dramas, crime shows, even the fun romantic comedies.
Yeah.
There's often this feeling that people in power abuse it and that the system is rigged.
It's like it's reflecting all the real scandals that have happened in South Korea, right?
Right.
We've seen it with politicians, big companies, even celebrities.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it would show up in their entertainment, too.
And what's interesting is that it's not always clear-cut.
Yeah.
K-dramas, they often explore the gray areas.
Right.
Like these moral dilemmas where characters have to make really tough choices.
Right.
It's not about pointing fingers at bad guys.
Yeah.
It's about trying to understand how power works
Mm.
and the compromises people make.
That's what makes them so interesting, right?
Yeah.
They're not giving us easy answers or happy endings all the time.
Yeah.
They're making us think about how messy real life is, and I think that's why people connect with them so much.
Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that's been changing a lot in K-dramas. Gender roles.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that a lot of people are talking about.
They are.
And they should be.
Yeah, for a while, people criticized K-dramas for showing these old-fashioned stereotypes about men and women.
Yeah, they did.
But in the last few years, we've seen a real change. Like, female characters are breaking free from those old limits.
Totally. We're seeing more women as the main characters who are like doctors, lawyers, CEOs, detectives.
Yeah.
They're not just waiting for some prince to come and save them.
Right.
They're running the show. They're making their own decisions, and they're often like fighting against these patriarchal systems.
The Glory is a great example.
Oh yeah.
Song Hye-kyo's character, she's out for revenge.
Yeah.
Against the people who hurt her. She's tough. She's determined. She's not a victim.
Right.
And then there's Extraordinary Attorney Woo. Park Eun-bin plays this amazing lawyer who's also autistic.
Both of those shows, they're challenging what people expect from female characters.
Yeah.
They're flawed, they're ambitious, and in the end, they're in control of their own lives.
And it's not just about showing strong women. It's about showing, like, the different sides of women's relationships.
Yeah.
Friendships, rivalries, the pressures they face in a society that's, well, still pretty patriarchal.
It's a conversation that needs to happen.
It does.
And it brings us back to the female fans,
Yeah.
They're not just watching. They're engaged, they're analyzing, they're critiquing.
Yeah.
They're even influencing what gets made.
It's amazing how these fans are using their voices to demand better representation of women.
Yeah.
They want characters that are more nuanced, more complex, more empowering.
Right.
They're not okay with stereotypes anymore, and that's pushing the whole industry to do better.
And it goes beyond gender, too. K-dramas are dealing with tough topics, like mental health.
That's true. For a long time, it was taboo to talk about mental health in Korea, but now we're seeing shows like It's Okay to Not Be Okay and Kill Me, Heal Me. They're bringing those conversations out in the open.
It's okay to not be okay. That was really groundbreaking.
It was.
It had a character with an antisocial personality disorder,
Yeah.
and it really explored how people deal with trauma and healing.
And Kill Me, Heal Me, that tackled dissociative identity disorder. And it did it with, like, sensitivity and humor.
Yeah.
These shows, they're not trying to give easy answers or diagnoses.
No.
They're showing the human struggle, the emotional pain and the need for empathy and understanding when it comes to mental health.
And that's where K-dramas really shine.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to show the darker parts of being human.
Right.
The vulnerabilities, the anxieties, the messy reality of life.
Yeah.
They're not just offering escape.
Right.
They're offering a space to think, to connect, maybe even to heal.
They're saying it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful message, especially in a society that often values like being stoic and perfect.
And it's not just about the individual either. K-dramas also critique the pressures that society puts on people, pressures that contribute to mental health problems.
Right.
The competition, the long work hours, the need to succeed all the time, it all takes a toll.
Yeah, it's like those shows are saying, hey, we see you, we get it, we understand the pressure you're under, and it's okay to talk about it.
Exactly. And that's why K-dramas are so interesting for people outside Korea too, right?
Yeah.
We might not get all the cultural details, but we all understand love, loss, ambition, the search for meaning.
It's like K-dramas are giving us a peek into a different world, a world that's both familiar and exotic.
Yeah.
And in that peek, we see ourselves, our own struggles, our own hopes and dreams.
And it's that shared humanity, that connection, that makes K-dramas more than just entertainment.
Right, it's about connecting cultures, starting conversations, and reminding us that even in a world that feels really divided, we're not that different after all.
Which brings us to the big question, right?
Yeah.
Right, we're looking at the big picture now. What does this K-drama boom mean for how the world sees Korea?
Yeah.
How's it changing, people's ideas about the country and starting trends that go way beyond just TV?
It's pretty wild when you think about it. I mean, we've all seen the K-pop craze, the beauty products everywhere, Korean barbecue popping up, like on every corner.
It's all part of that Korean wave, that Hallyu effect we talked about.
Yeah.
But what's cool about K-dramas is that they're not just products or trends.
Right.
They're giving you this look into Korean culture, their values, even their worries, in a way that's sneaky but really powerful.
Yeah, it's like they're telling a story about Korea, not through like travel ads or news, but through these stories that are so personal, so emotional, and they stay with you.
Exactly. And it's not just about showing the pretty side of Korea either.
No.
Remember those shows we talked about, like Skate White Castle?
Yeah.
They weren't afraid to show the pressure, the inequality, the harder parts of life there.
Yeah, and that honesty, the fact that they show the good and bad, that's what makes it feel real.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works. It's not some fake, perfect version of Korea,
Right.
It's real, people connect with it, and it makes them want to learn more.
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about soft power, but K-dramas are doing more than just changing how people see things. It's actually helping Korea's economy.
So you mean like more than just those big Netflix deals and all the money they're making from exporting the shows?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, look at tourism.
Oh, great.
How many people put Seoul on their list of places to visit after watching a K-drama that was filmed there?
Right.
Or started craving Korean food?
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on the food. I suddenly need to learn how to make kimchi jjigae.
But it's deeper than just food and travel, K-dramas are changing how people see Korean brands, their products, even fashion.
That's true.
Like, think about it. If you see a character in your favorite K-drama wearing a certain brand or using a specific phone,
Yeah.
doesn't it make you, kind of want that brand a little bit?
Yeah, it does, actually.
It's subtle product placement, but it's really effective.
It is. It's like they've figured out how to make people want that K-drama lifestyle. And that translates into money for Korea.
Yeah, it does. And it's not just about selling stuff either.
Okay.
K-dramas are even having an impact on, international relations. Remember Crash Landing on You?
Yeah, how could I forget?
That show, even though it was made up, it made people think about North and South Korea.
Right.
It showed the people on both sides as human beings.
It's amazing how a rom-com could deal with such a sensitive topic, and it wasn't pushing any political agenda or anything. It was about human connection, empathy, finding common ground, even when things are divided.
Exactly. And that's the power of stories.
Right.
They can bring cultures together, help people understand each other, and open up conversations in a way that, traditional politics can't.
You mentioned earlier that K-dramas might be a platform for social change. And now I'm starting to see how that's happening, not just in Korea, but all over the world.
Think about the conversations that shows like Extraordinary Attorney Woo and The Glory started, right?
Right.
They're making people more aware of things like neurodiversity, bullying, and social justice.
Yeah.
And those conversations aren't just happening in Korea. They're happening online, in fan groups, on social media, all over the place.
It's like K-dramas are giving a voice to people who are often ignored or misrepresented, and they're doing it in a way that's engaging, entertaining, and everyone can access it.
And let's not forget those female fans.
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones driving this whole thing, demanding stories that are more diverse, characters that are more complex, and representation that's more progressive.
You're not messing around.
They're holding the industry accountable, and they're having a real impact.
It's really inspiring to see how much these fans care about K-dramas and how they're using that passion to try to change things, not just in entertainment, but in the world.
So where do we go from here? What's next for K-dramas?
Well, if we look at what's happened so far, I think we can expect even more innovation, more creativity, more stories that push the boundaries.
I'm already seeing it. There are K-dramas now that are dealing with global issues like climate change, international politics, even like the future of technology.
And I think we'll see more Korean and Western storytellers working together, blending their styles and ideas to create something totally new.
It's a really exciting time to be into K-dramas.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. If K-dramas can change how we see the world, spark important conversations, and connect people from different cultures, what else can entertainment do to make the world a better place?
That's a big question.
It is. And maybe the best way to answer it is to keep exploring, keep watching, and keep talking about K-dramas.
So go ahead, dive into that world of K-dramas. You might be surprised by what you find, not just about Korean culture, but about yourself and the world around you.
And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.